All right, we're live.
Boom, there we go. We are live. It is your New York Mets Coors Light Quickie presented by Coors Light, the beer that's made to chill. You may have very little chance of seeing postseason baseball for your team. Doesn't mean you shouldn't chill out a little, relax. Football can only, it's still like another 5 days before the NFL can hurt us again. So we're coming down the home stretch here, and make sure you can celebrate responsibly with some Coors Light. We have an actual real life Major League pitcher on the mound today, at least for a few innings, hopefully. And most importantly, the Coors Light of our fandom right now. Uncle Stevie is coming, and he may be buying SNY. That was the big story of the day, I feel. Maybe for $1 billion less than he was offering. It's just like the Jeff Wilpon failure story. Every single day, it's just something else you learn, whether it's A-Rod being a snake, the team being sold for hundreds of millions of dollars less, and then obviously SNY being potentially sold. What were your thoughts on the whole matter?
I think that the only person that really prospered from this whole pandemic was Jeff Bezos and
Yes.
Stevie. So I don't understand how a company, like a network that basically has a license to just print money, can possibly be worth $1 billion less 6 months later. But this just goes to show just how bad Jeff is at handling any responsibilities he's ever been given. They were trying to railroad him and get him for a little bit more than $2 billion, from what I heard, and now they're going to be lucky to even get $1 billion. And honestly, it's a fire sale to the point that they're saying that they're somehow still strapped for cash, and they're trying to pay off the debt, I guess, to clear the books completely for future Wilpon generations. So if he really wants to wait them out, there's nothing that says that he doesn't have to. They said that in 30 days, he's got 30 extra days where he can negotiate once this thing clears. Might as well.
Yeah. And that's the funniest thing. And again, we've talked about it a little bit. I think we'll talk about it more on the show, the big show on Thursday, the main pod. But SNY, it's 10 more years of Mets coverage, right? Where they're locked into 2030 in terms of the team. So, and then it's just a regular channel, and God knows what the regional sports network, the sports network package in general is going to be. Obviously, as we learned of this pandemic, live sports is still king and still makes a ton of money, but digital and all that other kind of stuff, there's a million different ways where we don't know. We'll be watching, regional sports networks didn't even seem like it was crazy how they kind of blew up and became a cash cow. And betting is going to, I think, kind of next big thing as well. So, Uncle Stevie, if he wants it, he wants it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It's that simple. We're going to go wherever he tells us to go. We're going to watch. He's going to bring the Mets fans. He's going to do the right thing. So have Gary, Keith, and Ron, no matter where they have to be, all that kind of stuff. So
that's what you're paying for at that point, too. You're paying $1 billion for Gary, Keith, and Ron, and that's it. There's nothing else that you really need. Infrastructure, I guess, but he's got the money to just build up his. I could see him buying SNY, completely changing the name, gutting the offices, and just using the infrastructure to start over. And honestly, you should.
Yeah. Like I said, I think a blog guy is it has the Wilpon stink on it. I'm sure everything's been run and mismatched. I'm no disrespect to the people of SNY, but with the Wilpons were a big part of your company. I always feel like there's probably some stinkiness involved, but so we'll see. And again, we all have this attachment to SNY because it was our network. Uncle Stevie could make a network 10 times as good as SNY, so I'm not too concerned about it. The other thing was the Jake DeGrom stats that were being floated out there, just to show it may not be as cut and dry as we thought it might be yesterday. What was it? He's let's see.
Faced, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so he has. Oh wait, no, I was looking at the wrong one here. Do you have it? Oh, here we go. He's thrown 100% of his innings against teams that rank in the top 60% of Major League Baseball in runs scored per game. That number is 11% for Trevor Bauer, 10% for you, and Corbin Burns is 7%. I don't know how the fuck that's even possible. How are we facing these
the Central is that
monstrous teams?
See, that's the thing.
So it's the Central. They're all in the Central.
We think that the NL East actually sucks, when in reality it's we're just eating each other, and so all the teams are losing more frequently. It's pretty much why. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are running away with that division, and then the Central is just a bunch of mediocre teams apparently. So, I looked more into that guy Burns because he basically came out of nowhere, and he started as a reliever, so he's only just reached the amount of innings pitched to qualify for anything. So I don't really think he's a favorite in any sense of that. If he could somehow jump DeGrom for strikeouts, he's second. That's the only way he could possibly have a shot of getting in because his ERA is basically. Imagine if we threw Jake every one inning to amount for
Yeah.
that. Like first and third inning yesterday, he struck out the side. So if he was only facing batters one time through the order or whatever it is, that's totally different. And I don't know how the writers are going to handle it because it is like a strange year. But I would weight it to say like he's facing stronger competition. It's not an even field this year. You have to take that into account. What do you think?
Yeah, I wonder. I'm with you on that. I wonder if like each PR team of each team, gives like like the colleges like the Heisman things where they give you all the stats to kind of like give me fucking Scott Boras and get the Boras binder out there. Which unfortunately, Jake, his ex agent is his GM who just robbed him about $100 million. I'm not expecting Brody and Jeff Wilpon to put together the best packet for Jake, unfortunately. But I mean, I think stats like that do kind of open your eyes. And like, yeah, the AL East is the division we're playing, and they're a whole other. Even though some of the Red Sox pitching sucks, their offense is still a fucking wagon. The Yankees are the Yankees. The Rays, I mean, they beat them last night.
The Orioles,
the fucking Orioles.
Yeah, they're stacked.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I didn't even actually think about this until just now, but we were talking about how will Jake being Jake make writers more likely to vote for him, or will they be like, I don't know if a guy should win 3 in a row and they won't vote for him? I can't imagine a lot of this, especially the older baseball writers love Trevor Bauer. So that might hurt him. The guy who threw the ball over center field because he was mad at his manager and has garbage cans on his cleats. Like that probably has them, old man shakes fist at cloud and stuff like that. Old man.
It's also one of those things where like Tebow was the first like sophomore to win the Heisman, and then he had better numbers the next year, but he didn't win. And the other guys didn't have better numbers. Their performance looked better. So it's like, are you gonna compare Jake to the other pitchers that he's going against? Or are you comparing Jake to the last 2 years of Jake? Because if you're doing that, he's throwing harder, but he's not a more complete pitcher. Last year, I think, is just like his gold standard. So if you're going to compare it to that, that's not fair to the pitcher that he is because he's only getting, 12? How many starts did he get? 13 starts, 14 starts so far?
I think he's at 12 right now,
12?
Actually. So,
okay,
I think everyone's
13.
like in the 11, 12 range in terms of starts. I think that Burnson guy was set at 8 now. So, and that explains why I was like, when we were talking about it in the chain the other day, I was like, who the fuck is this guy on the Brewers? Like, how do we miss him? It's because he hasn't been, he hasn't been a qualifier. He hasn't qualified to be in the race until he actually got the starts in. So that makes perfect sense. Starting tonight, we have our boy Seth Lugo, the Puerto Rican, what the fuck did I call him? Not the Enigma, the
Paradox.
Paradox. Yeah, the Paradox. I mean, he's a paradox in himself in terms of this whole goddamn season as a paradox. McNeil leading off, JD, Double Davis, Dom Smith, Frazier, Cano, Petey, Rosario, Heredia in center, just because why not? I mean, center field and catcher is it's a fucking quagmire. It's the Bermuda Triangle of basically like the last few years. I mean,
this outfield is scary bad. You got McNeil in right and Dom Smith in left. I guess Heredia is like an actual outfielder, but I mean, he doesn't have Billy Hamilton speed, so he's got to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the whole Billy Hamilton thing is just hilarious based on how last season they completely bungled that, and then they bungled it again this season in the opposite way and gave up a prospect for their troubles. I mean, like whatever, fucking, we're playing again, and like whatever. I'm sure we're just throwing whatever can be out there in terms of defense, and obviously you love the bats, a lot of these guys, and we're putting out who we can, Conforto's and Consolina now, and all that stuff. Meanwhile, the Rays have dudes I've never even heard of before this year. I have, you know what I mean? Like they're just straight up, and that lineup is precision, the most like mathematically correct lineup to use against Seth Lugo and the kind of pitcher he is and the kind of defense. I'm sure they have the defense as much as they can have it. It's all to a fucking T. Heimblum's, handprints, fingerprints are probably all over this, and his mathematical equations are still being used as algorithm. So
they can clinch tonight. They can clinch the East tonight. It's only one game. So if they beat us or the Yankees lose, then they take the division.
So that's our spin zone if we lose tonight. It's at least we got the Yankees to clinch. Blake Snell on the mound, 4-1, 3 ERA, so not bad. He's actually been pretty good this season. And I mean, this point. Okay, so all right, let's do it again. Let's play the game again. I like this game.
Yep.
One thing you want to see tonight.
One thing I want to see tonight. There's not much left.
Two hour and 20-minute game.
Yes, always. I'd like to see Rosario at least finish on a decent note, because I really don't think he's going to be back here next year. I think that he's too big of a trade piece and he's too big of a name that we can move him for something big. If they do think that Jimmy's the guy, you almost have to. There's already so much depth in the infield that we really don't need to hang on to him anymore. So you know what? Boost your value a little bit. Maybe we move you for, God forbid I say, an actual center fielder or relief pitching or starting pitching. We got a lot of holes. So I think that just to watch him finish strong, I'm down for that.
Okay. I like that. If I can't say a 2-hour game, I will say just like like you said, the outfield is such a disaster. Let Heredia make a nice play. Like a web gem. Give me. I'm not asking for the greatest play in the world, but I want a web gem. I want something. I don't know if Baseball Tonight even does web gems. I don't know if Baseball Tonight even on the air anymore. I don't even watch like ESPN, so I don't even know if it's.
I have not tuned into ESPN without there being a sporting event in years.
Right? And
one of those things where like I'll watch Scott Van Pelt like after the game's over.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where like you wake up and because you fell asleep before the game ended, you wake up to like the third Sports Center rerun.
That's true. Yep. And I mean, Baseball Tonight was. I mean, that was appointment television, like just a regular fucking night in April. I remember when we were in college, my buddy and I would just like it was our thing. We would just watch Baseball Tonight and Gammon.
You know what it is? We don't need it anymore. You don't need it for the highlights anymore. Nobody needs to watch.
And it's just kind of, when it's like everything else in this world. I mean, ESPN kind of found they went one way, and I think the people's taste went another. So a web gem, if they're a web gem still on ESPN, if not, a play good enough for the Mets social team and the SNY social team to tweet out. That's what I want to see from Heredia. That's all I'm asking for. And it sounds like he's going to have plenty of ground to cover tonight. Yeah. So we'll be back for the post game in a few hours. Hopefully a couple and not a few, right? 2 is a couple, yes. 3 is a few. So in case there's any turbulence along the way, we'll be celebrating responsibly with our Coors Light. I can never see the blue mounds on here, but they are always blue. I see it
like
the fridge.
It's like the holographic card. Like I can see it sometimes when you move
this it. One you can see. The top mountain is legit, and they are the same thing. But yeah, this mountain, it's blue. I'm not giving you guys fucking silver mountains. That's the Clem promise. I will never give you silver mountains, and if I do, I'll let it be known because I find that stuff unacceptable. I got to take a lap. Exactly. So we'll see you guys after it's all over. KFC, I think he'll join us. He was doing mail time tonight. I forgot to bring that up in the beginning of the show. So hopefully we'll have him around. Or you know what? Fuck him. He's probably going to be a negative Nancy no matter what. He's probably going to be jumping off a ruse and saying that Jacob deGrom is faking hamstring injuries.
Snacking on his cookies. No, we'll get late night KFC.
Yeah, late night KFC, who's like fucking fresh off of some 3-Chi or some stuff. He's floating around the moon at that point. So we'll see you guys after the game, and hopefully the Mets don't break our hearts or do anything crazy along the way.
Yep.
Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Believe.
Gotta believe, but we're